Well, it's Saturday the 8th of March, and this is episode 2505 of 301 per Millimove Online, a personal podcast 301 seconds in length, written, recorded, and edited by me, at the JMO. I continue to pay close attention to local AI models. Most mainstream coverage focuses on the frontier models and the hype, OpenAI, Anthropic, DeepSeek, etc., but it rarely explores the wider industry and the context. I mean, all online services are embedded within a vast stack of global industrial compute technologies. xAI's Grok 3 was trained on the world's largest, first fully water-cooled data center cluster, and that alone is worth an article on its engineering and technical innovation, regardless of what you think of the man that funded it. Also, yes, Microsoft just pulled out of its planned data center leases, and you could report that this implies the AI race has peaked, but it also signals excess compute capacity ahead, which means prices are going to come down. It wouldn't surprise me if, in a few years, we see dedicated compute clusters for training or updating checkpointed open models at prices that most large organizations could justify as reasonable capex. Model crashes. But even still, I think local AI is a more important area to be tracking. For the first time in a decade, I'm excited about hardware again. Last week, Framework announced their desktop computer, which comes with 128 gigs of RAM and a rapid Ryzen GPU, all for just $2,000. And crucially, you can chain multiple units together, forming your own local compute cluster, scaling capability at significantly lower costs. The new Apple Studio was also just announced, which, when fully maxed out with an M3 Ultra, 512 gigs of RAM and 16 terabytes of storage, is priced at $14,000. Now this is a lot of money, but the new Mac Studio can comfortably run a 4-bit DeepSeek R1 model locally with room to spare. Think about that, you can now run frontier models on a desktop machine, which a month ago needed an entire data center. What's the bet that future versions of the Mac Studio, or even Mac Mini, will offer something like Framework's modular scalability, enabling them to be chained together? Imagine supercompute clusters in every office. The new Mac Studio specs also now provides open source model makers a target memory size and hardware platform to optimize for. The same is also true of the new iPhone 16e, which just got a RAM bump to 8 gigs. With its updated processor, Apple now has a new minimum spec platform for local on-device Apple Intelligence, which, alongside Google's Tensor platform, shows there's an industry-wide push towards making devices AI inference platforms rather than cloud clients. Last year, I talked about us heading towards maximal intelligence at all levels. Local inference will emerge and immediately sink below the user interface rather than being directly exposed to the user as a chatbot. I've recently been really impressed by how useful Brave Search's AI overviews have become, and find myself opening links directly from its references list all the time. I've also been making use of Perplexity's deep research tool for more complicated searches, and now that I've tried OpenAI's deep research for myself, I sort of have a sense where things might be going. My own use cases for deep search so far has mostly been for creating souped up tutorials, as I'm currently learning a new piece of software, and I've decided that help systems are going to be where we see a ton of innovation. Every single application we use has a built-in help system. Some are better than others. Microsoft Excel, for example, has some of the best help documentation of any consumer software. But even with great documentation, finding exactly what you need is often a pain. Powerful local AI is going to be built into the operating systems directly and will let us ask software for help directly. Soon, app help data will load as a knowledge object atop the base intelligence, letting you ask it how to do something or why something's not working. For example, how do I implement an anamorphic lens in Blender? Or, I'm using this software to do X, Y, and Z. I know that I need these specific plugins, which require some JavaScript knowledge. Give me a step-by-step guide on how to implement them. These are things that I've asked both deep research tools recently and got back extremely useful results. In both cases, I was able to follow the steps they gave me quite far before switching to a reference YouTube video that got me across the finishing line. Tutorials, YouTubes and blogs, etc. aren't going away, but the ecosystem is definitely going to change. And all software is going to need better documentation, but when does it not? Apple has its emerging on-device AI strategy, and so does Google. And I think Microsoft has probably cancelled all that cloud compute because really good local AI models are coming soon. Software won't necessarily become more useful with all of this, but it will become more helpful. Giving computers the ability to explain themselves is a UX game changer, and lightweight debugging will only improve and be built into everything. Tutorial engines are coming, and they'll run atop local models embedded into our devices. The entire AI conversation is going to be very different when AI moves out of the cloud and onto our machines.